There's something weird about the opening to The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I'll read it, you see if you can spot what it is. When he woke in the woods in the dark and the cold of the night, he'd reach out to touch the child sleeping beside him. Nights dark beyond darkness, and the days more grey each one than what had gone before. Like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. His hand rose and fell softly with each precious breath. He pushed away the plastic tarpaulin and raised himself in the stinking robes and blankets, and looked towards the east for any light, but there was none. In the dream from which he'd wakened, he'd wandered in a cave where the child led him by the hand, their light playing over the wet flowstone walls. So what's weird about that? Maybe quite a bit, but what I was referring to was that some of those sentences aren't actually sentences, they're fragments. Did you notice? And don't feel bad if you didn't, because that's sort of the point of this video. If you're not familiar, Cormac McCarthy's books are full of writing that doesn't quite follow the rules or conventions. And my question is, does that matter to readers? Does it actually affect anything? Do we writers actually need to make our writing technically perfect? Or is what the reader experiences more important? Thinking about this, I think, can help us improve our writing. My instinct is to straight away say, don't use fragment sentences. I mean, I'm a freelance editor. But sometimes I think we can learn useful things about writing by relaxing those rules. So we start with when he woke in the woods and so on and so on. And that is a full sentence. It feels full and complete and rounded out. I'm not going to get into the subject and object and predicates and all of that stuff, because my point here, as always on this channel, is how the writing feels as we read it. The reason I take that approach is because I think art can be technically perfect, yet somehow make us feel nothing. Though at the same time, rules provide a valuable container with which that meaning and that stuff that makes us feel anything happens. So here's where I think things get weird. After that first sentence, the next bit, nights dark beyond darkness, and the days more grey each one than what had gone before. It's a nice sentence, but to me it feels like it's missing words. It feels like maybe it's a fragment sentence, though technically it isn't. It's the way it starts, I think. It just feels abrupt to say, nights dark beyond darkness. I mean, to fix this, we could add the nights were dark beyond darkness, and then we're fully rounded out. It's a very simple change to fill that out. But I don't think that original phrasing is actually confusing to a reader. Or is it? It might momentarily cause a slight stumble as we trip over the missing words a bit, but by the end of the line, we're okay, we've recovered. If you were the editor for this book, would you suggest adding those missing words in, or would you leave it as is? Let me know in the comments. The next weird thing, or the next possible fragment, comes directly after that sentence. The days more grey each one than what had gone before, like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. Even though it might not seem like it might not even seem as much like it as the previous one did, this is definitely a fragment sentence, because we have to have that prior sentence for this to make any sense at all. To demonstrate, I'll read it in total isolation, see how it changes. Like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. Alone like that, it doesn't carry the same meaning. For me, it begs the question, well, what is like the onset of some cold glaucoma? This one definitely feels like a bigger rule breaker to me. When you boil down the facts, we're relying on the previous sentence to give this sentence any meaning or relevance. However, we can't ignore the fact that the prior sentence that we're relying on is there, and it's always going to be there and be read beforehand. So this fragment, even though it is a fragment, it will still always have its meaning. So for that reason again, does it really matter that it's a fragment? Does it take away anything from the reader? Again, I think it causes a bit of a bump, but does it make things harder to follow? I don't think so, really. What do you think? And if I was editing this, I know what I'd probably suggest doing to fix it. Speaking of, I am open for editing work, both short fiction and novels. My novel waitlist is up to July now, but I'm still taking on extracts of your novel openings if you want to check that you're on the right path with your first 5,000 words. My approach is friendly and supportive, whether it's your first story or your millionth. what you see here in the videos is pretty much what you get. So just check my testimonials on the website and see. The link's in the description. So to fix this, we could just add the missing words again. It was like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. That would be okay, though we're still relying on the previous sentence a bit. But that's not what I would do. There's something simpler, and maybe you've already spotted it. What I would do, as the editor, is just suggest a comma. Why not join both bits together here, making this second fragment no longer a fragment, retaining the wording and breaking fewer rules, eliminating that bump? It would sound like this. Night's dark beyond darkness, and the days more grey each one than what had gone before, like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. What do you think? We are in danger of making the overall sentence a bit too long, maybe. Perhaps more importantly, does it change what the author intended here? It's hard to know for sure, but there's a bit more for us to make a judgment on further on. We've got a couple of full sentences next, nice and normal for the most part. Then there's another fragment here with their light playing over the wet flowstone walls. This is similar to the last one, but again, not too bad. Right, it's a continuation of the previous sentence again, but arguably would be slightly clearer than the last one if by itself. What would you do with this one as an editor? Well, like the last one, I'd probably suggest another comma. It does elongate the sentence and make it quite long, but it's the simplest solution while retaining as much of the author's voice as possible. But I think I'd pause here because I'd be wondering about something. If this were the first novel of a brand new writer, I'd be making notes about comma use and fragment sentences, and I'd be keeping an eye out for more of these easy to fix mistakes. Everyone has stuff like this in their drafts. But if it really was Cormac McCarthy I was editing, an author who surely knows the rules, he'd have to, having had such a distinguished career in writing, I'd wonder whether it was actually me that was missing something. Obviously, I don't believe myself to be a better writer than Cormac McCarthy. Hopefully that goes without saying, even though I just said it. So in this situation, I'd be thinking, does he mean to do this? Is he really choosing a full stop or a period instead of a comma with intention? If he is, why do you think he might do that? And that's not a rhetorical question. I'm genuinely asking you, by the way. I have my theories that I'll get onto, but I really want to know what you think too, because discussion like this helps us all learn and to become better writers. So don't be shy about giving me your thoughts. The difference between a comma and a full stop is the length of the pause, I suppose. But that difference is arguably minimal. But let's say a full stop or a period is a place to take a breath, a longer pause, to take a moment. Is that maybe what McCarthy wants us to do? Does he want these to be fractured, fragmented and incomplete thoughts? Does he want us to sort of stagger between them a bit? Does he want it to feel bumpy? As writers, we might think, well, why would he want to do that? Don't we all want to make our books nice and smooth? Not necessarily. The Road, if you've never read it, is a book about walking at the end of the world. It's about the brutal nature of nature, the lack of solutions to the oldest problem humanity has, survival. Maybe there is something there about avoiding things getting too smooth, avoiding the story flowing too well on the page so that it maybe echoes the struggle of this father's plight trying to keep his young son alive. Maybe these fragments are supposed to echo the failing attempts of this father's mind to find any clear path forward as his own health slowly fails him and his time runs out. It could be. Or it could just be that it was written too quickly and not edited enough. That could be true too. And I know I'm risking the ire of the McCarthy stands here, but look, I love this book. This is the Folio Society version of it, so that tells you everything you need to know. It's great, but is it perfect? No. That brings me back to the question. Do the imperfections get in the way of the story? I think that's always going to be somewhat subjective. Part of me says, we maintain good standards of writing for a reason, to make stories legible, to represent the craft well, to show our skill. Do these fragments make the story less legible? I'd say no, probably not. Do they badly represent the craft? Not really. Do they fail to show McCarthy's skill? I'd say no. One question I think that sums all of these up is, if you were reading this book, would these issues stop you from turning the page? I think above all else, That's what we writers want our readers to do, isn't it? Or is it? I don't know. You tell me. I've got more videos about McCarthy's writing, by the way, and I'll put one of them on the screen now so you can click it and avoid going back to the homepage and risking seeing Mr. Beast's AI-generated face if you want. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy writing.